Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. We spend a ton of time in school talking about food chains, right? Like who eats whom out in the wild. But today, we're going to explore something totally different and honestly truly amazing. We're looking at how nature actually builds its very own housing system. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about where animals actually live? Obviously, a bird needs a nest, a squirrel needs a hollow tree, and a frog needs a nice, quiet pond. But who creates those homes? Someone has to actually build or provide these habitats. They don't just magically appear out of nowhere, right? And that brings us to what we're talking about today, a super fascinating type of connection in nature called topological relationships. Okay, I know, that sounds like a massive, complicated science term, but it's actually really simple once you break it down. The word topological comes from the ancient Greek word topos. And topos? It literally just means place. So these are interactions where one living thing creates, changes, or just provides a physical place or living condition for somebody else. So the absolutely crucial thing to remember here is this. Topological relationships have nothing to do with feeding. This isn't about a predator hunting its prey. No one is becoming someone else's lunch today. It's entirely about providing a place to live. Just think of it as nature's very own real estate market. So, let's dive into the three main types of these awesome relationships. Type 1. An organism as a habitat. Imagine an old oak tree. It's not just a big plant standing out in the forest. It actually acts like a massive apartment building for wildlife. This is exactly what we mean when one living thing serves as the actual physical home or shelter for another. Just think about all the tenants living in this single tree. You've got birds building nests way up high in the branches. You've got owls finding shelter inside those nice big tree hollows. Squirrels use those exact same hollows as safe, cozy little homes. Then, right underneath the bark, you'll find all sorts of beetles and insects crawling around. And hey, it's not even just animals. Other plants, like orchids, will grow right there on the tree trunk. If that one tree disappeared, all of those organisms would be instantly homeless. And what's really wild is the sheer number of residents. Scientists have actually found that a single, large, old oak tree can be home to hundreds of different species, literally hundreds. It's an entire bustling city, all contained within just one single organism. Pretty amazing, right? Moving on to type 2, creating special environmental conditions. So in the second type, organisms are actually changing their surroundings, stuff like the light, the moisture levels, or the temperature, just to help other species survive. It's kind of like they're adjusting the thermostat or drawing the curtains for their neighbors. So instead of just being a physical home, they're actively tweaking the environment to make life possible for the creatures around them. Think of it as nature's built-in climate control. Tall trees cast these massive shadows, which creates the absolute perfect, cool, shady spot for delicate mosses, ferns, and fungi down on the forest floor. Without that shade, those plants would totally dry out in the hot sun. Forests also act like a giant sponge, trapping humidity to keep the air cool and moist. Out in the meadows, tall grasses work like natural windbreakers to protect tiny, fragile young plants from getting blown away. And even on bare rock, you've got lichens working incredibly slowly to break down the stone, actually helping to create the very soil that other plants are going to need later. It's all connected. And that brings us to type 3, changing the environment. Ooh, this is a fun one. Meet the ecosystem engineers. These are the organisms that completely, drastically transform their habitats. We're talking heavy construction work here. They literally change the landscape around them. And the most famous ecosystem engineer of them all? Definitely the beaver. Let's look at the beaver's blueprint for a second. Step 1. A beaver chops down some wood and builds a dam right across a moving stream. Step 2. All that fast-moving water suddenly slows down and pools up. Step 3. Boom! A brand new, deep, quiet pond forms right where a shallow stream used to be. And step 4. Because of that one beaver's hard work, an entirely new neighborhood opens up. Fish, frogs, aquatic plants, birds, insects, they all move into this brand new habitat. One single animal just created a home for thousands of others. How cool is that? But hey, beavers aren't the only ones doing this kind of work. There are tons of other amazing engineers out there. Like ants, they're constantly digging around, loosening up, and improving the soil right beneath our feet. Earthworms do the exact same thing, completely changing the soil structure so plants can push down strong roots. Under the ocean, tiny little corals build these massive, sprawling reefs that turn into bustling underwater cities for thousands of marine species. And back at the water's edge, thick reeds provide totally crucial shelter and hiding spots for smaller fish. So, despite how tiny some of these creatures might be, just going about their daily lives literally builds the world that everyone else relies on. All right, so we've seen how organisms act as physical homes, how they adjust the climate, and how they engineer completely new landscapes. But we kind of have to step back and ask the big question: why does all of this matter? Like, why are these topological relationships so incredibly important to the natural world? Well, it really all comes down to keeping ecosystems healthy. These relationships create brand new habitats where there basically were none before. And because you have more habitats, you get a huge boost in biodiversity, which just means a much wider variety of life gets to thrive. These connections give the more fragile organisms the exact conditions they absolutely need to survive. It's the glue that makes nature's ecosystems and animal communities stable and resilient. Honestly, when one species helps create living conditions for another, it supports this incredibly complex, beautiful web of life. It literally makes nature stronger. Which brings us to a really powerful thought I want to leave you with today. In nature, everything is connected. Protect nature, protect your home. Seriously, the next time you take a walk through a local park, or even just your own backyard, take a really close look. If a single tree can be a bustling apartment building, what kind of massive ecosystem engineering projects are happening right under your feet? Makes you think, right? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep exploring.